Alright, it's Doom here. Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and we're back. And I'm excited to paint the Cockatrice now. He is not all the way dry, I'm sure, but that's okay. We're going to use a cheap brush and base coat him and stuff. So, read a couple different things about Cockatrices, and I've seen some different images of them. The whole premise of the Cockatrice, the color isn't super important. What's important is that they bite you, you start to turn to stone. You make a couple saves, you fail them, eventually you turn to stone for 24 hours, and then you go back to normal. I'm thinking that I'm going to have my Cockatrices in my game be a little different. They're also going to have a screeching, like, rooster caw they do, and it's going to be terrifying, and it's going to instill fear in people around it. So you'll have to overcome a bravery concept of some sort, whether it's a will save versus fear, or a personality save, or whatever system you're using. So that's definitely what I want to do with this guy. So let's start. I think what I've decided to do is to do like a sickly color of like a lighter green. So I'm going to reach over and see what kind of green paints I have to do a base coat with. And it looks like the first thing I'm finding is this dark arbor green here. And let's get him colored in that. So I'm getting a cheap brush that if he's a little wet in paint, I won't cry about it. And I'm going to start painting him. And I'm going to do a pretty good coat. I'm not going to hit every little spot, and I'll miss some spots, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't think anybody's going to pick it up and inspect it. And if they do, they do. You know, they didn't spend the time to make it or save up years of garbage so that when they wanted to make it, they'd have this stuff. So, and you could probably go 3D print one of these. You could. I have a 3D printer. I could probably go find a free STL for a Cockatrice, really. But is it going to be as fun as what we just did here? We just got some other minis. I don't know what minis you had, but with the minis I had, it looks okay. It's getting what I want it to be. So, some descriptions of these things, if you read around, say they're feathered, and some say they're scaled. If you look at, like, historic canon, which is like non-video game, non-D&D kind of like images of what like historically people thought they were just like they didn't have wings and stuff anyways. They did have some feathers, and then they had like a reptile tail. But this is ours for our game, and we're going to do it our way. And I thought a sickly green would be the way to go. And I'm right now just using really cheapy craft paint to paint him. Because who knows how many times I'm going to need a Cockatrice. I did see an entry, and I think it was some 3.0, which is like my edition. I play 3.5 with like some 3.0 resource books still. And, I did. Not anymore. I'm not playing any Wizards products anymore, but I was. And now I made my own system because I wasn't happy with Wizards. And I wasn't happy with how they treated us, and I've never really thought the system was great. It was the best one around, but it wasn't great. I've tried different stuff, Palladium Heroes and stuff like that, and fantasy, but really Wizards has always been kind of my go-to because they have a lot of resource books, and there's always other stuff they sell, and Wizards was awesome after TSR was sold, and then they went to Hasbro, and over the years they've just stopped treating us good as fans. My rinse water is just a little bit of regular water with some dish soap in it. And this actually has some of that brush cleaning saddle soap in it too, because I was washing brushes in it and I didn't clean it out. So he's starting to look like we want him to. We don't want to melt our hot glue, so we're going to turn the +2 hot air gun burning down a little bit and not use it on the highest setting. And just take our time and dry that paint up so we can get the next coat on. I feel like he's taking paint pretty good, so we don't have to worry about it. I did not hit him with clear coat first. I just kind of hit him with the black and then said, hey, look at that. So now I want to get a softer brush. And I have one. And I want to get a lighter green. This is called Kelly green. And we're just going to get a piece of cardboard. Something like this. Not that one for sure. Here we go. Cut this a little bit long for my table here. Do I have a knife out? No. All right, we got a couple slips of cardboard we can use here. I'll throw those up in the corner. All right, so I just want to get this Kelly green here. And what I want to do is I want to wipe some of that off. And then I want to start giving him a different color. And I'm not painting him all the way. What I'm doing is trying to just give him some variation. This isn't really a dry brush or a wet blend. It's just kind of hitting spots and giving him some variation. Because if you look at anything in nature, dirt included, it's not all one color. I say this all the time, but if you're new, you wouldn't know that I say it all the time. Nothing is all just one color, really. Take a picture of the night sky, you'll see 100 different colors, and if you zoom in on it with a camera, take a picture of some mud in your yard and hit that little eyedropper icon on your paint program and look at that photo, and you'll see that there's just tons of little colors of dirt. So he's starting to look a little better there. Now we want him to look sickly, and I'm not sure how to pull that off exactly. So what I'm thinking is I get a lighter green. This is called palm leaf, and I'm not going to dry him between. I'm just going to do this the same kind of thing I just did there, maybe with a little less enthusiasm. And I'm just going to start dragging that around. And I didn't hit him with the airbrush. I just kind of, it's a little sticky yet, you know. And just pick up some more of those little 3D tones on him with that. So now we're going to get one shade lighter. And this is a pretty bright green here. This is called Limeade. And I want to hit this with a little bit of gray in it. So I'm getting some of this granite gray. And I haven't cleaned out my brush yet. I'm just using this stuff that I have. That's just a drop of granite gray. I'm going to get a drop of this Limeade green. And I'm going to mix those together and see what I get. Something like that. We want to wipe a lot of that off and turn that into pretty much a dry brush at that point. Let me see what kind of details pop out on him with that. Mostly I'm not getting down in all the cracks. I'm just kind of touching the outer parts, the tail and the backs of the wings real good. I'm just going to dab underneath the wings a little bit. Let's get his hands and his haunches there. And he's starting to look pretty decent, I think. I think he's starting to look like what we want him to look like. But I do want him to be a little more gray than that. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to get that gray, and I'm just going to mix it in like that. There we go. And then I'm just going to hit some of the very sticky outy parts with that grayish green. And I think that's going to kind of capture that more of a sickly, not healthy looking fancy green. I never really do any sickly stuff. You can probably talk to somebody that does a lot of Necromunda stuff, or somebody that does Plague Marines maybe. Somebody like that. They probably know better than I do. And I want to hit his little toes so they have some here you go. Something like that. Now, I want his head part there. I don't know what that piece is called exactly. I think that this piece down here is a gobbler, and that's something else. I'm not sure. But I want to get like a red. And do that part. This is Folk Art, which might be one of the craft stores brands. I don't know. I'm not sure who makes Folk Art. But this is just a dark red called Cardinal Red. And I just want to paint this with a cheapy brush. I want to paint it red. Because in my head, I think it would look better. I've been watching a show. I don't watch a lot of TV. I've been watching a show. It's Dexter New Blood, I think, or new. I don't know. It's the old Dexter TV show, but now he's got his kid is growing up, and his kid's a killer too, or wants to be a kid. I don't know. Something with killers. It's pretty good. Something like that. And then we're going to come back on that with a little bit of a lighter red. So I have like a flag red from the Dollar Tree, not Dollar Tree, a Walmart. Oh, Red Apple. It's like a brighter red. So I'm going to set that down for a minute. I'm going to hit him with a +2 hot air gun of burning, but I'm going to turn it on low heat and just dry that up. Something like that. I'm going to get this bread. Sorry, my pants keep falling down. I lost a lot of weight and I need to go out and purchase new clothes, it looks like. As cheap as I am, it's come to the point where I'm going to have to either quit losing weight or I'm just going to drag that around and get a little bit of a brighter red look going. And then I'm going to dry that and I'm going to do something even a little bit lighter. And this is not really a red. This is called ripe tomato. It's like a super dark orange. And I'm just going to dry his head off and hit this on the top parts of it. And if you don't want to go that far, you don't have to. I don't think this is a necessary step. It's just something I kind of wanted to do. I'm just catching the top of that chicken mohawk. That's what we'll call it, a chicken mohawk. I'm just dragging it and getting it along that top ridge. So his beak's probably going to be yellow, right? So we're going to do his beak in yellow. Let's get that orange we have out right now. It's kind of too dark for what we're doing here, but it might be okay. And let's just get our brush real flat and just paint that with that color. And let's get his beak nice and orange. So when we come back and hit it with yellow, it'll be noticeable. Okay, something like that. Starting to look a little cartoony though, isn't he? Alright, I got some dark yellow over here. Not dark yellow, but I got yellow over here called King's Gold. It's another Walmart special. I'm going to get some of that. I'm just going to hit that again and lighten it up a little bit. There we go. Well, I think that would look good if I just kind of caught the very tops of that with that while I have it out. Yeah. You don't have to do this. This is just a me thing. All right, let's get that yellow and get it a little bit lighter again. Hit that nose up one more time with that. I'm going to wipe out my brush. I'm going to get that yellow. And I'm just going to touch and lighten that nose up to yellow. I'm going to leave the darkest recesses of that around the edges, that orange color. So it's got a little bit of gradient, something like that. And I think I'm going to take this gray and this yellow and make like a gross kind of fingernail color and paint the fingernails, just drag it over the tips so they're a different color. I'm going to do that on the feet too. It's not super noticeable, but it's a different tone. And I do think it'll show better when we get the clear coat on here. All right, let's do his eyes. Now, if you're brave, you can use a cheap brush for this. I'm going to get out a little bit of a nicer brush to do the eyes personally. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do his eyes in yellow with a very small, good brush. And I'm just going to do a little dab to capture those. Then I'm going to hit them with some air. And dry those eyes. You're starting to look a little bit like I expected. So I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that really fine brush. I'm going to get a little bit of this. I think it's called ivory. Yep, ivory. And I'm going to just, inside that yellow dot, I'm just going to make a smaller white area. And for this part, you might want to use a toothpick or something if you're not real confident with yourself. Or a needle or a push pen or something. Now I'm just going to make a little dot in the center of that. That's kind of what I wanted. Now look at this little spot back here. It looks like paint didn't stick there or something. Or maybe we didn't paint it well. Let's get that other brush out and see what we can do about that. So let's get some of this little green here. There we go. And some of this light gray. Same ones we used before. There we go. Let's get a little dab of that medium green we had. What was that called? Kelly green. Let's try to catch up to where we are here with that little spot there that didn't take paint well. Maybe I missed it completely. We don't know. Let's get that cheap brush we were using and wipe a lot of that off and get in that little spot back here. Let's get a little bit of this and a little bit of this. Get a lot of that wiped off. And just hit it again real quick. There we go. Something like that. That way he looks a little more across the board the same. Alright, let's get our base. So for this, we're going to be using the same brush at this point because if we get a bigger brush, we're going to get paint all over the place. So we're going to use this little brush, even though it's going to take us some time. We're going to get this base going. This is Burn Umber, that same dark brown I use all the time. And I'm just going to try not to hit any of his flesh. And I don't want to go outside of the fake dirt we made with the baking soda. I just want to kind of paint the ground brown best I can. And if you have a nice flat edge on your brush, you can get up underneath that those feet and stuff without getting it on the feet. So, you know, it's all in what you want to do. It's your mini. This is actually, I always call this a shitty brush. It's actually a pretty decent brush. I don't know where I got it or what I paid for it. It's been years, but it's always just kind of been my, it's not good enough to be like a final miniature brush, but it's good for this kind of stuff. For these cheap minis that I'm just throwing together. Looks nice. I will, of course, upload this video after I get a good thumbnail. And then I will wait to see if anybody watches it. And I will check several times because I am like half like wondering if it's, you know, how long it takes for someone to see that I've made a video. Because apparently, even if you subscribe to my channel, unless you actually hit the notification bell, it doesn't tell you I got a video necessarily. You have to click on, it'll light up your subscriptions tab from what I understand. And then you'll look through and it might not even be there. I'm not sure how it works, or if YouTube likes some people better than others, or they know my content's garbage, so they don't care. But no matter what it is, it just seems to be, I can't figure out what the secret is. Somebody said, make a video every day. I do. Very seldom do I miss a day, and if I do miss a day, I'll do a couple extra days. videos here and there to make up for it. So there are way more videos than there are days I've been doing YouTube. I've been doing this for about, I don't know, about 60 days, I guess. I have to look. I don't know reliably if that's true, but I've been doing it about 60 days. And I think I have about 180 things posted. But some of those are like shorts, you know, where I do house rules, because I want young people to understand that the rules are there, but if they don't make sense or they don't work well for you, or if somebody in your group is shitty about them, you can make changes. And a lot of my house changes to 3 and 3.5 came from years of playing it and just seeing holes in the system that I didn't like, or seeing monsters that needed to be run a different way. This is just black, cheap black, going around the outside, just to make this mush with other stuff I've done. For all my fantasy stuff, I do a black around the edges. And then for all my modern stuff, it's like a wood brown. And then for all my fantasy stuff, it's like a dark gray. And that way, if I'm looking in a box for something, I can easily identify what I'm trying to grab. Or if it's on display, all the bases in that area match. But I don't really display anything but fantasy stuff, truthfully, because that's predominantly what we play in our group. We do play modern. That's why I invented the Tomorrow Comes Doom system. But then they were like, oh, I wonder if that would work in space. So I revamped the system and made it work for space. Now I've revamped it and made it work for fantasy. We're going to hit this with a hairdryer. And we're going to get a different tone of gray, brown on that ground, a lighter gray on those rocks. And then we'll put some flock on this. But I think he looks kind of how we expected him to. I hope yours is going well. Like I said, I don't know what base pieces you started out with. I showed you some options and stuff I was looking at. But yours might have turned out completely different at this point. So I hope yours is going well. When you get done, please show me an image of yours. Get on the Discord or something. Maybe I'll make the Facebook group public. But the Facebook group's kind of like mostly just, I don't know. It was supposed to just be people that had bought the minis, so we could look at pictures of them, but it's also become like other friends and family and stuff have joined it. So, but all I'm doing here is just making sure the dirt has some different colors and some different tones, because dirt isn't all one color. Okay, something basic and simple like that. I'm gonna get a little bit lighter of a color. This is called nutmeg. I don't use this a whole lot. I don't really like this. It's really wet and it's not very nice. When you buy these Walmart paints, I will tell you now, they're cheap and they're worth buying for many applications. They are not consistent. So if you're using nutmeg and you mix the color you like and you go to buy more nutmeg, you are not guaranteed to get the same quality of paint you got last time. It is very inconsistent. And even from pot to pot, if you buy 4 colors right now, how much water is in them and how much pigment's in them and stuff could be drastically different. So, do not rely on them as a go-to for miniature painting. Now, for this kind of stuff like I'm doing here, you can do that. But I would say if you're painting your normal, regular, nice minis and you want them to look good, I would generally not. I mean, you can make them. I have minis that I've painted with craft paints that look okay. I'm not going to josh you on that, but the quality of miniatures I paint using like a better quality of paint, a more consistent quality of paint, a paint that I'm very comfortable with and is very reliable to be the similar paint each time I open it. That's the paint that I choose for my regular minis. All right, so I'm not cleaning my brush out still. I'm just getting a little bit of this granite gray here. Oh, we have some out already that we used to mix, so it's not waste. I'm just going to get a dab of that. I haven't cleaned out my brush. Okay. Wipe a lot of that off and just hit those rocks just on the top parts that stick out a little bit, just to make them look a little fantastic. So the secret to having a good fantasy table is to making sure everything has a fantasy theme. If you make your buildings, make the slopes a little ridiculous. Make them look like it's not how somebody actually would have built this, but it would look good in a fairy tale. And your party will see that stuff and they will react. If you have a bunch of really plain looking buildings, which I have built many times, and a lot of my buildings look very realistic. It's not as exciting, but if you take the time to build a couple super silly buildings, it really changes the dynamic of the way your table is, and it makes people a little more excited. So that's what we came up with. This is our finished cockatrice. Let's get some flock on this guy. And to get that flock on there, we're just going to get a cheap brush. We're going to get some clear glue. I need to make a shopping list. With clear glue, don't ever buy it like this. It's very expensive. Buy this and refill it over and over again. You'll thank me. Your pocketbook will thank me. You'll be like, oh my gosh, this stuff is expensive. Yeah, it is. It is. But that clear glue, man. Dude, I mean, I have regular glue, but clear glue is my jam. Love me some clear glue. All right. Let's get that. Where did I put that flock? Oh, it's right here. So we're going to get our flock, and we just get a pinch of that. Sprinkle it down around the base. Get it all in the where we had glue. Sometimes you need to come back in here and hit it a little more. Make sure you got all your spots you wanted to get. All right. So this is what our homeboy looks like. Finished and done. He is going to be a grotesque addition to the table. They won't realize he's a cockatrice immediately, most definitely, because I haven't run one. Been probably since I was in the Army, so it's been years. So this group's never seen me run one. And I've never had a miniature, so as they look around, they never see the threat. And when I make a new mini like this, I hide it. I don't leave it out where they can see it. My wife gets to see it because she lives with me and she sees me shooting thumbnails and stuff. But when I make these minis, like, these are hidden. If you watch the grave golem I made, like, I pulled that thing out and they were like, oh no, we're in peril, you know. So, all right, this has been Doom, Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, one half the Dungeons Flag team. If you like what we're doing here, feel free to like and subscribe. Check out the discount codes in the Discord and in the description. There's a link to our website and to the Discord in there. Come on Discord. We do live paints and stuff that are a lot of fun. I'd like to have any of you join me for a live paint. We'll do some adventuring and roll some dice and maybe kill some monsters while we're painting. That'll be fun. So have a great day, and I'll see you next time.